Welcome to Exploring Axon, a podcast where we discuss Axon Framework, Axon Server, and their ecosystem. I am your host and the producer of this podcast, Sara Torrey. In this episode, I spoke with my guest, Houssam Fakih, from France, who is organizing a lot of wonderful events within the community. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Let's have a listen. Hello, Houssam. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's really great to have you. Could you please introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us about your background and where you are located?
Hi, Sara. Thank you for inviting me. I'm Houssam. I'm based in Paris, and I am software engineering. I had a lot of positions the last years. I have been like CTO in a company. I stay developing sometimes, and I work in the software development industry.
Oh, that's great. And today we have a really great topic. It's one of my favorite things because it really centers around the community and bringing people together and connections. So tell me a little bit about what it is that you do currently and why did you choose this route? What kind of got you interested in this topic to begin with, and also further pursuing it and making it a reality and bringing it to various communities and various countries for that matter?
Yes, I am organizing a conference, Socrates Conference, which is the French edition of the Socrates conferences in general, because we had a lot of this kind of conferences in Europe. So I am organizing the French edition since 2015. And this year it will happen in 2 weeks around the end of October. So I'm so excited because, you know, all the stuff related to organize, to check that everything is okay for the participants. What is specific in this conference is the format, because like in a classic conference, you have already a timetable, a program, and the organizers will contact every speaker to ask them to come and to speak. In the open space, there is no schedule defined before the conference, and all the participants will define the program when they are in the conference. So in the
Very
morning,
good.
Yes, we will start like suggesting some topics, and then we will have the program. So it's open space technology. We have like 5 principles and 2 law, and like I love this kind of conference because, you know, like at the beginning, the idea why when the person who created this the open space asked, because he organized a classic conference, and after the conference he asked the participants to give him feedback about the best part of the conference, and people that said that the best part was at the breaks, you know, when you have a break. So you will talk with the person of your choice, who will choose the topic of your choice, and then the participants give the feedback saying that this part was the best part. So he had the idea to organize a conference with this format. And the idea come from this the feedback this participant.
Yeah, that's great. So in a sense, it's kind of like an unconference. It gives the participants a chance to come in and explore different ideas and learn from one another. It's actually really interesting that you mentioned that we do have an annual conference at AxonIQ, and it's usually at the end of September. We actually just had it 2 weeks ago. And one of the feedbacks that we got last year, because we had the conference pre-COVID times in person, and then we had to kind of pause for a couple of years during COVID. We did one virtual conference, which we didn't really feel like it had the same benefit for us and for the participants, because it's just not the same, right? It does offer some benefits to those who can't participate in person on a regular time. But at the same time, it really took away the sense of connection and people coming in together and being in person and exchanging ideas and all of that. So we decided not to do the conference virtually the second year of COVID. And then we came back last year and had our in-person conference. One of the really valuable feedbacks that we received from the participants was that as well, that hey, we loved talking to other people who were there, and especially people that we didn't know prior to the conference. We got to talk in the hallways. We would call them hallway chats. And the funny thing was that the venue that we had last year, it was a very sort of old school European small building in Amsterdam. The location was great and the building was super cute, but the problem was the hallways were very narrow, so people couldn't really stand in hallways and talk. And so that was the feedback that we received, which was, we love the hallway conversations, but the hallways were not big enough, so we couldn't really congregate and talk to each other. And so we took that idea, and this year we did have an unconference. We set up a day prior to the day of the conference, and that was exactly as you explained. We brought everybody together in the morning and said, hey, which topics do you want to talk about? Everybody had a piece of paper, wrote their topics. We put them on different spots, and some topics had to be sort of combined together because we thought initially, hey, we may actually not have enough things to talk about. Well, it turned out we had too many things that we couldn't even find spots to talk about. And we had 30 different sessions going on throughout one day. And it was so cool to see that, because there was so much interest in various topics, and some, of course, overlapped and that we combined together. But there was just so much to talk about. And I was sort of hopping from one session to another session and looking at various things that everybody was discussing, and the amount of interaction. And it was just a different level of energy and different level of, conversation.
Definitely. Yes. I like to start, like, I'm not a big fan of, like, when it's about Socrates, I prefer in-person events. I participate during like the COVID period at the beginning in one of the Socrates organized virtually. And I didn't appreciate, like, for me, sometimes you have in mind like a conference where, like, every time I go in a conference, in a Socrates Unconference, it's something special. Like in August, I have been in Socrates at Solto in Germany. It's like, the first edition all starts in Germany. Yes, about the Socrates. And when, for example, I prepare like my flight, I have to wake up early in the morning. I have, like, to go to Hamburg first, and then I have to go to Solto. So I have 2 stops. All this, all the flight, all this time when I am traveling, I'm preparing myself to disconnect from my world and to prepare the connection to the Socrates. And then you arrive, so you are surrounded by people, great people. And when I say great people, it's not like just to, I don't know, in French with like, I don't know the meaning, but like, it's not like just to make pleasure for these people, because I really mean they are great, because they are inclusive. Like when you arrive, everyone will say hi to everyone. Everyone will try to be inclusive with the other person, and that is what I like in this conference. First, because, like, you have a nice place, you have nice people around you, and after that you have nice topic, and you can discuss. And every, like, when you discuss, sometimes when you say, okay, there is nice people, but these people can have different advices, And I think that when we disagree on some topic, that is when great idea could raise. So
Yes, that's when everything gets interesting, right?
exactly.
Exactly. So when you organize these sessions, right? These days of unconference, or we call it conference in this case. So do you plan it based on a certain topic or technology, or is it sort of like, hey, this is just about software and this is just about IT in general, and we're just going to pick up whatever topic comes at us?
Like the main topic, because like now I know this conference, but like when I discovered this conference, I read like an article one of my ex-colleagues wrote on the blog of my ex-company, and
Yeah.
like I read the article and I say, okay, this form, I love this form, and I ask first, do we have like a French edition of Socrates?
Hmm.
And one of my colleagues said to me, no, we don't have. So I say, okay, maybe it's good like to have like a French edition. So we don't have like a topic. We are in the software community, so
Hmm.
you know, develop the development topic, the testing topic, because like Socrates mean software craft and testing on conference, even if
Right.
testing is not present when we are well, depending on the editions. But I like my feeling is we have less testing than development, and
Hmm.
like I hope to have more testing because it's interesting topic. But like the main topic is about software craft, about development. But when you participate, you will have uh, all kind of subjects,
Hmm.
like Germany, like in August, we discuss about the burnout, and the person
Hmm.
who ran the session wasn't developer, wasn't tester.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's really interesting because it's not just about the technology. You're bringing in the human aspect of it in the topic as well, which is really nice.
yeah, exactly. So and I love like this session because the person who ran the session don't speak very well English. So my English
Mm.
is not like perfect even because it's not
I
my
know,
mother
you're great.
tongue, but because it was like for her it was a lot of stress talking in English, and
Yeah.
she had like another session in a public and classic conference after. So it was a kind of entertainment, not training for her to
Yeah, sort of like a practice before she goes
yeah,
to the next,
yeah.
next
And
session.
even like the way she explained and she talked about the burnout was very interesting. So you have like
Mm.
a multi kind of subjects about the society, about everything,
Yeah.
and like it's an open format. So the idea in the Socrates is every time like we meet people, we meet participants, we will say to them, it's your conference, it's your time, so
Right.
try to use your time as you want. If you are
Hmm.
interested in a subject, if you can contribute, if you can like add something, don't hesitate to do it.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to, to keep a balance, because
Sure.
sometimes you have some people who talk a lot. Sometimes you have some people who don't talk. So when you are in a discussion, the people who talk a lot should like listen to the other person and to keep like some balance. I think it's important to keep this in mind, and
Hmm.
everyone keep this in mind. And after that, about the topic, it's your topic. So the
Yeah.
idea, it's your time. If, for
Hmm.
example, you feel you are not interested in the discussion, not because sometimes, I don't know, depending on the moment, depending on the person, I am interested or not. If you are not interested, we have what we call the law of 2 feet, or the law of mobility. So you have,
Yeah.
yeah, and sometimes
So
maybe,
tell me about those laws a little bit. And
yeah,
but before that, I have a quick question. So you were talking about how to balance the folks who are really interested in talking a lot about something versus somebody who might be a little bit shy and not want to participate. Do you then have moderators for sessions, or is it really um, on the kind of like a responsibility of the participants to kind of balance that
yeah.
out?
Like for the whole event, we have a facilitator. And the
Mm-hmm.
facilitator will explain the concepts, because sometimes when, for example, you are running this kind of event,
Yeah,
which not a traditional like event, you have to explain for people because
of course.
our way, like when, for example, I don't know, but when when I used to participate to classic conferences, even if I continue to
Right.
participate to this classic conference, but at the beginning, like it was for me like a big shame to change my a session. When, for example, you arrive, you are attending a session, so
Mm-hmm.
I have to stay
For
to
the
the
whole thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
otherwise, like it's kind of disrespect. And
Mm-hmm.
in the unconference, when, for example, you will explain and even you will encourage people to leave if they feel to leave, because that is the power of this conference. It could be a little bit like, difficult.
Yeah.
So we have a facilitator, and the facilitator will explain all the concepts at the beginning of the event, the principles of the open space, the two laws, and then when you have the session, you have always like one person who will run a session.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, he has the responsibility to balance the topic, but it's the responsibility of everyone. Like in the
Right.
conference, in the open space conferences and in the open space technology, the idea is you don't have the role of speaker for only one kind
Mm-hmm.
or one group of persons.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone could be a speaker, everyone could be a participant. And
Right.
so, everyone is responsible to make the event succeed. So it's the responsibility of everyone. Even if,
Yeah.
like the aim of the facilitator is to explain all these principles and concepts, because sometimes we can like forget about it, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's nice to recall what are the concepts, why we are here.
Absolutely. And you did mention there are 2 laws and 5 principles. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
Of course. And so, like the principles, the first one is whoever comes are the right people. And I love this principle. Why? Because, like, when, for example, you are talking about a subject, sometimes, we want to have everyone here, or maybe sometimes we don't want to have everyone if we are stressed, so it could be a little bit difficult. But
Yeah.
this one, like to accept, to be happy, because even like if I don't know, you are expecting like 20 peoples or 10 peoples, and you have like
Mhm.
only one person, you have to
Yeah.
accept this, because the people, uh, the people who will show are interested in your topic. So
Yep.
that's nice. The second one, wherever it happens, is the right place. And like this kind of unconference, like it start in the morning, but we stay at the same place at night at the breakfast. So at every time you will like meet people, you will discuss with them. So there
Okay.
is no time to start talking about a nice topic.
Yeah.
And third one, whatever happens is the only thing that could have. And this one, I love it because, like, I notice that every time I talk with participants attending this conference, they want all the time to participate to all the sessions.
Right.
Except it's impossible, because like you have a lot of sessions running in parallel.
Yeah.
Uh, and like, they want every time they are frustrated because they can't do all the stuff. And
Right.
yeah, with this principle, so whatever happens is the only thing that could have. So you have to be happy. If you are
Yeah.
not happy, or if you think that you can change something in order to make it better for you or for the other persons, you have to do it.
Mhm.
And if you don't, no problem.
That's fine.
We'll have yes, another session. Um, the fourth principle is whenever it starts is the right time, and it's like a little bit the same as the right place, but it's about the time. I think that at the beginning I talk about the time, but like
Yeah.
I mix time and place. It's the same, and the last one is when it's over. It's over, because
Mhm.
like we have 1 hour for every session, but like if Sometimes you feel that you need more time in order to talk, so you have like to suggest another session after. And sometimes we can have like 5 minutes, and then you finish discussing about the subject. So it's fine. You don't need like to stay 1 hour in order to talk.
To just fill in the hour, yeah.
Exactly. And with these principles, we have the law of mobility or 2 feet. And with this law, it means that if, for example, you are taking a part of a discussion, and then for a reason you are not interested anymore in this session, or the discussion don't bring for you the value you want, you have to change and to use your 2 feet in order to go and to join another session.
Yeah.
And like we encourage people to do that, because sometimes it's very good like to go to like even sometimes you maybe the discussion are important, but it's nice like to go. You say to me at the beginning, so you start with a first session, you take part of the discussions, and then you go to another sessions.
Yeah.
And nice, and we call that bumblebee. It's like
bumblebee. I like that.
Even butterflies, but like every time, because we had a definition I forgot about, but I think like bees or the bumblebees is or the person who will go from one group to another group, and sometimes they can, for example, arrive in a group, and the group is talking and discussion about the subject another group is talking about, so this person could share the information with
That's right. That's really nice. It's kind of like a touch and go, but also you're taking your information that you've gained from another session with you to another one. And you're absolutely right, because I did feel that during our sessions as well. And what you mentioned about at the beginning, it might not be comfortable because we are so used to that traditional sense of conference where you have to sit still for the duration of the talk, and once it's over, you may move to something else. And I did find it was awkward for me. I felt like I was being rude to somebody who was talking about a specific topic that I was not really interested in, or it was just kind of like, okay, well, I gained as much as I could from this session. Now I'm ready to go somewhere else. It was a little bit awkward at the beginning, for sure. I tried to sit sort of at the end of the row of each session. So if I wanted to just get up and go, I wasn't disrespecting anybody. I could just kind of sneak out of the session. But towards the end, it became more comfortable because you're kind of like, okay, you see other people also moving around, and it becomes fine.
Yeah. For me, for this, like you have to talk about this topic with the participants, and even like with the person who will run sessions, because like even in a classic conference, when, for example, I have a talk to give, I start with this one. I say, okay, I'm fine. If you feel that you want to go away, I have no problem with this. I come from this kind of conference, and then I will not, it's normal for me. I have no problem.
Yeah, we don't get offended. It's one of, it's interesting that you mentioned this, because I think a lot of times we forget about that. Like, all right, so somebody did show interest to show up to my session, but if it's not really benefiting them, there's no reason for them to just stay. It's nothing personal. I'm not going to be offended by you not staying.
A concert, and we
exactly.
We are not expecting like a huge audience. So I'm fine with only one person. Well, maybe it could be a problematic if I am talking and then everyone will leave and I will be the only one.
Yeah. And then you're like, okay, maybe I need to change my topic next time.
Yeah,
maybe. It's feedback.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's a feedback, and you are right. Like it happened to me, like first in Germany. It was like the second time I am attending a conference, and then I had like a topic about how teaching TDD. So I introduced the session, and then I have been in the room, and no one show in the room. So you
You're like,
like,
why?
"No, I'm not how." And then I had Carlos Blay, who long time I didn't discuss with him. So he meet me in at the lunch, and he said to me, I was very interesting in your topic. So maybe if we can find some time, we can talk about this topic. And I said, okay,
Nice.
yes, of course. And after like the lunch, I discussed with him like 2 hours, maybe 1 hour and a half or
Wow.
two
Yeah.
hours with Carlos. And like he shared with me a lot of interesting stuff. And it was like the best session I had in
Oh,
a
that's awesome.
like this one. Yeah, you know. So sometimes even if people don't show up for your topic, you don't have to be upset. Even if I understand that we say in French, ta fierté, you know, la fierté,
Hmm.
you know. But like maybe people had like another stuff, and even sometimes it's end ups with people coming to discuss with you, like what happened to me with Carlos.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that I also notice, and that happens in regular conferences as well, when you have sessions that are happening in parallel, sometimes it's really hard to pick which one to go to, right?
Yeah,
Because there are two topics that are happening simultaneously and you're interested in both of them,
yeah,
and you pick one over the other, even if your interest is the same. You can't be in two places at the same time. So you end up picking one over the other. But that doesn't mean you're not interested in the other topic.
yes.
And you're absolutely right, because one of the things that happened during actually our day of the actual conference, where we had sessions planned out and everything, I was participating in one session and I was really interested in the other session as well. So what happened was they were both happening right before lunch. And I think that's why lunchtime is so great, because I did participate in one of the sessions. And then during lunch, I got to see the other people who were talking in the other session. So then we had a nice chat and we exchanged stories and experiences. So that was really nice. And I think it's one of those things that makes people more interested in these sort of casual settings, right? So, in your experience, can you tell me a little bit about why do you think these events are so successful and becoming more and more popular in other places?
I think because the focus is on the people, you know, like if,
Mm-hmm.
for example, like I keep the best memories about these events because I know that there I will discuss with people. I will make like I can say friends, like not friend. Sometimes even like it happens that to have
Mm-hmm.
friends, but like every time I will, I'm happy to see like people I know, people I met before, and I am happy like to make new friends at this event. So it's
Yeah.
all about the people, about the values of the people, and I think it's important. And the second topic I think is this kind. When you say to people, okay, do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like some freedom in order to really define your schedule, your topic, the people
Right.
you want to talk about, or the people you want to talk with. Um, I think that it helps in order to make this event nice events.
You're absolutely right. And I think uh, this is the whole idea behind communities, right? We're building communities, we're building connections,
Mm.
and we may not necessarily be interested in the same kinds of technologies or, for instance, software patterns or
No,
architecture and things like that.
yeah,
And that's a good thing, because that's also the idea behind diversity and inclusion. You're
yeah,
bringing everybody to the table, you discuss, and as you mentioned a little bit ago, if you disagree with somebody, that's where things get
yeah,
interesting.
of course, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's where you learn, I think, because we don't have I'm a firm believer that I don't have all the information in the world. It's impossible for us to know everything. So it's really important to bring somebody else that may know things not necessarily more or less than I do, for instance, but just differently, and then
like,
discuss these differences. And I think that's really important. Not just when we talk about technologies, but also when we talk about the human side of things, because we are humans, right? Working on in this technology world. And I think a lot of times when it comes to regular conferences, we sort of tend to forget that because we get so focused on the technology itself. We get so focused on patterns and, you know, this is the latest and the greatest. Let's talk about that, which I think they're all beneficial. But what you mentioned about the burnout, for instance, that's something that a lot of times we steer away from talking or discussing in a conference. I'm seeing those coming more and more into conferences, those things that have to focus on the human side of things. Like we had a talk at our conference by one of the wonderful speakers that we had. Her name is Malin, and she talked about empathy, and her talk was called "Empathy is the Secret Sauce." And I had another conversation with one of my podcast guests a couple of times about the socio-technical aspect of things, like, you know, talking about people. What do we do as people, right? I think those are important. And that's one of the things that I gained from our Unconference. You're talking to people, you're experiencing different things from their point of view, not just about technology itself, but also about what it is that makes them excited about the work, what it is that gets them away from certain work situations or companies or cultures and things like that. And I find that so fascinating and interesting. And that was really nice.
I agree. And like, even like if I continue to participate in classic conferences, and I like classic conferences, like I don't want to say that classic conferences are not good, you know, like open space.
I think they're very beneficial still. Absolutely. Yeah.
But like in open space, you know, like you can, if for example you are here, you think about a topic, so you can have a session about this topic directly, and you are surrounded with professional people who, you know, like sometimes when you are discussing with with like experts, so like sometimes you save time because you will ask a question and then you will give you like the small details, and that's nice. And like having you know, some values about to include everyone in the discussion, to be open as, you know, a community is very important. Because for me, like, I don't like to be a closed community. I like even people who don't believe or have the same ideas as me, I prefer to discuss with them, and I prefer to have like open community agreeing on the same values, and it's good.
Exactly. I really enjoy that. And I love what you do, and I love that you're bringing communities together, and I love that you're connecting people. It's really amazing. One of my favorite topics and things to always look into is the community, people behind these communities and these technologies. I love that. So thank you so much for spending the time and telling me about all these wonderful things that you do within your community and outside of that, and sharing that with us. I think we can all benefit from this within our communities and larger community as well. So thank you. I really appreciate you sharing those experiences.
Thank you for the invitation, Sara. Thank you.
Of course, it was a pleasure talking to you. Until next time.
Ciao.
Ciao. I hope you liked my talk with Houssam. Please join me in next sessions to talk with wonderful guests about other amazing topics. Until then, have a great time and happy coding.